Hi, Marlena. What would you like to work on today?
Well, it was actually interesting because the last counseling session, we were talking about just overall like feelings of inadequacy, I guess, in the program, and it brought up with one of the group members. So, and I think it kind of stirred up some feelings in myself, like personally surrounding the program. And it's not stuff that kind of has been running through my head, but it's well, sorry, I meant to say it's not stuff that hasn't been already running through my head, but I guess it kind of brought certain things like full circle. I guess it was almost like I just want to like fast forward to a point where it's like, oh, I'm already here at the end, and it's like, yeah, like I have the, I'm doing good, like I'm able to implement the skills that I've learned and whatnot. And it's like I can see myself at the end of the road, and everything kind of everything transpired the way that I hoped it would transpire, I guess. Yeah.
So you're starting to really feel the process of this counseling, like techniques and learning all these things, and you really wish you could just go through that and really visualize where you're going to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because it's hard for me. It's hard for me to imagine, and I'm personally, I have more. I kind of feel like I struggle with feelings of self-doubt, and I don't like ambiguity, and I feel like this is the first thing, this is kind of a new frontier that I'm venturing down, and it's scary for me because I can't see the end of the road, and I don't know if, because I feel like such a newbie right now, it's hard because I go back and forth in my head like, I think you have the qualities and skills necessary. I feel, who are you to not be able to do this? But then on the other hand, I have like that person in the back of my head that's kind of saying like, Marlena, like, really, are you sure about this? Like that hesitant person that's like, okay, well, like if you don't do this, then you're going to have to rethink that. What are you going to do? Go back to square one again? Mm-hmm. And so it's like I have this duality, so to speak.
So you're really battling between your confidence levels. So on one hand, you feel like, you can really, you got this, you're really going to do this. And on the other hand, you start doubting yourself. Like, what? Like, what if I don't get to where I need to get? Like, what do I do then?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. And it also, when we were in the therapy session at school, it kind of made me think a little bit that sometimes I have instances of, because I feel like I have all these different hats that I put on like throughout the day. Like, and before I was involved, I did journalism for a while, and I had the skill sets. I felt much more concrete about journalism because it's more of a different kind of techniques and skills that are utilized, and it's, for me, it was easier to grasp, so to speak. It doesn't take that much as long of training. It takes a lot of experience, but you get your bachelor's and you're good to go. But it was just the settings and the environment didn't feel like it coincided with what would be best for me, and I really had to think about, okay, well, do I really want to make my life out of this? Do I really want a lifelong career? So then there was that, and there was that portion. And then there was musical theater and singing for a really long time. That was a part of me. And my mom was really pushing me to do that. Like, I think she groomed me at a really young age for that, because she saw that I had a knack for that. So she was just like, oh, we're putting her in there. And so that was like half of my life. And when I got into college and whatnot, things just didn't really go as planned. I didn't feel like I necessarily fit into that world completely. Like, I had the skill sets, and I do enjoy it, but it just wasn't necessarily a right fit for me. And so I think that's kind of what, in a way, I feel like counseling is my first choice. This is the choice that I made on my own, because before I had external things telling me, I had my parents, my mom, especially, that was heavily influencing me as like, well, you're good at arts, and stuff, you should stick with that. And that kind of paralleled journalism away. So I think that propelled me to tackle journalism, right? So in a way, I feel like through my young adult life and adolescence, I've always been listening to what other people have told me what I should do, and not really going out on a limb, so to speak, and not saying, okay, well, this is what I really want. So I think that's the scariness.
So do you think that the fact that you've changed, I guess, maybe careers a couple times in your life, do you think that maybe has something to do with the fear of this uncertainty in this new part of your life?
I think that's what it is too. I think honestly there's a lot of things going on, but I think it's kind of pinpointing specifically which ones are the most like present. But I feel it's, I guess in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, those things didn't necessarily work for me entirely because of my own choice. And I'm worried in some regards that this may be a repeat of what if this doesn't pan out, you know? And it's kind of like, to me, I'm at that point where it's like, no, like it has to be do or die, either this or something else. But, you know, I feel, you know, before I got into the program, like, you know, I really feel like this would be a good fit. I can see myself in this position. And I think, but, you know, as you go through the program and, you know, we're all experiencing that anxiety together, I guess, as a cohort, you have those moments where it just seems like impossible that you could possibly know all the things that you can to prepare yourself, and you feel like such a loser at the moment. You're like, oh my God, like really, I can't even do this. Like, how can I picture myself 2 years ahead? So I think that's where.
Do you think you can find some comfort in the fact that you know everybody is also going through the same issue, and it's not just you that's dealing with maybe lack of confidence or second guessing yourself in your career?
Oh, I definitely, now that you say that and seeing how other people have experienced the same kind of, yeah, like feelings of anxiety and overall like inadequateness, it does make me feel like, well, that's just the process that you're going to have to go through. And I guess in a way I feel a little disappointed in myself too when I think about it, because I'm like, oh, like I'm such a wimp. Like I barely got into this program, you know, and I'm already having like doubts where I knew logically that that's gonna happen. I know that, but it's hard when you're feeling the feelings of inadequacy too. You know, logically, yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be times where I'm not gonna feel that great about what I'm doing, and I'm gonna feel like, oh crap, I can't continue. You know, maybe I'm not cut out for this, and you get freaked out. I knew logically before going into the program that would take place, but it's a totally different story when you're living it and you're feeling those feelings as they come up in certain, you know, instances, you know, so it just, yeah,
so it almost feels like you're going through the motions right now of the actual uncertainty, and where it's like a period of testing for you almost, like, oh, I don't know, am I gonna really be cut out for this? And so the fact that you do know though ahead of time that was the way it was going to be, but the fact that you're going through it doesn't make it any easier.
Oh yeah, I think that's definitely true, and I guess that's a good point. That's the challenge in it. I mean, there's no challenge is easy, and if the challenge was easy, then it really wouldn't be worth pursuing in a lot of respects. You hear people say that, you know, and I feel like I am making the right decision. I can only, you know, time will only tell, you know. I just hope I hope that I'm happy with the decision, you know. And I think my dad, like, he kind of, he's like, I hope you're happy, you know, with the choice that you made, because you could do all these different things, but it's really what makes you happy and what you feel like you know, you could succeed with.
I see. So there is some pressure coming from your parents as well as your own insecurities that kind of pile on top of the stress and anxiety you're already feeling.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say with, like, my dad, the way he said it wasn't, I don't think it came from like a pressure standpoint. I don't think he was trying to, you know, like say, well, Marlena, this better work out for you or else. But I felt the hope in his voice that he had for me, and I felt like, I think automatically, even though he never meant for that to be implied that way, because I feel a lot of responsibility already for the choices that I've made, I think I almost feel like, oh, I want to prove him right? It's almost like when someone says that to you, you want to be like, yeah, like I want to prove that this is the right decision that I made.
So it's like he's not pressuring you, but you're pressuring yourself to make sure that that you fulfill this dream or this decision you've made.
Exactly. I think a lot of the pressure comes from within, and that's what drives me that's what's really driving me crazy, because this is the one time where I really putting like a lot of pressure on myself, and every little minutia that doesn't go, that's not right or is not adequate in some regards, or I feel like I'm not doing the best that I can, then it causes me to rethink things like, oh, like what am I doing? And it's like sometimes if I could just silence those thoughts and just have faith, which is really difficult. I feel like it's easier said than done, just to have faith in the process.
Yeah.
Then, I would perform. It would just be, I feel like overall I would perform so much better, in general, and just be happier with the program in general. Yeah.
So you feel like you yourself is really the one that's kind of keeping you back from moving on of these feelings of uncertainty, and you're kind of, you're stuck there right now at this moment.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I like once again thinking, like I was telling like my boyfriend, like I'm my own worst enemy, and I know that my own fears and self-doubt is really what creates this whirlwind. And if I could quiet that down and find, I know what I have to do, I really do, and it's just a process of like self-affirmation basically, and just refusing to let those thoughts like creep up into my mind. It's just a lot of self-discipline that I need to work on, because I'm a high anxiety person.
Okay. So in other situations when you've been in this, in I guess maybe lacking confidence, or in like with an ambiguity, what have you done to kind of push through that and kind of make it towards the end? Like how have you done that in the past?
I would say, let's see, that's a good question, because usually I think this is the biggest thing that I've been met with, honestly. I don't know, I'm thinking like in past circumstances, usually there comes a point where I just have to face it head on, like in circumstances that maybe not have had such a monumental choice like this, because this is, I think this is a really monumental choice for me to do this. But before, I'm thinking with like other aspects of, when I've been in a job scenario or whatnot, I just push through it, and then I usually end up coming out on the brighter end, I guess. So, it's just go through it, just experience, and just push yourself through it, and just say, no, we're not going to think about that. Like, I am going to do it. And then usually it happens.
So maybe like a change or shift in your way of thinking, your way of perceiving yourself, and like, just a complete change in your mentality. That really helps you just push right through it and be able to make it at the end, and not start self-doubting yourself.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's what it is. It's just a cognitive, like, behavioral change in a way. It's way of how I perceive things and how I perceive myself. It has to be, it's an effort for me to change those. But I know what I have to do. It's a process. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, and hopefully we'll pick up where we left off.
Thank you. Okay, that was great. Yay.